You
Can
may
we start?
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining this online conference session. My name is Phezulu Dhlodhlo, and I'll be taking you through on how to create a 3D PDF for performance support. I am currently an instructional designer at FL Smith Mining Technologies. Just to give you a bit of a context, the software that I'm going to be using, we do use it for some work related to virtual reality and augmented reality, but there are certain challenges that you will come across as an instructional designer and you need to circumvent those. Like, for instance, if somebody is not working from the office and they are connected on a dedicated LAN cable, then it becomes difficult for them to access learning materials that are in the form of a virtual reality presentation, because it takes a lot of bandwidth. So with that in mind, coupled with the electricity problems, you would want then to create an alternative modality of your training, which then takes us to why we are here today, an alternative modality of presenting training, which will leverage basically on devices that are offline, hence this 3D PDF that we are talking about this afternoon. So just to take you through quickly, the software that I'm going to be using is called SimLab Composer, and we are going to see that it's very easy to create a 3D PDF in 4 steps. So the first step is just to import your 3D object, and then the second step is to do an animation. It's called a frame-by-frame animation. And then once you're done with the frame-by-frame animation, then you go on to create what are known as animation sequences. Then last but not least, you then export your sequences to a 3D PDF, and that's it in a nutshell. So here I have the interface of the software. That's the 3D model. And then at the bottom here, there are tabs. You've got a tab for materials, animation, sequences, and scene states. The one for materials, you can use it to customize the materials here and put some textures so that it becomes much more realistic. Then the animation one is the one that you do your frame-by-frame animation on. Last but not least, you've got your sequences. That's where you will create your animation sequences, which will then export to your 3D PDF. And then when you export to the 3D PDF, you'll get this window under the settings, which allows you to choose a template of your presentation. So in this case, because I want to do a disassembly of a water pump, I've chosen a sequential steps, and then I've also added the number of steps that I'm interested in including in the presentation there. And then after that, you save it, and then you then create the 3D PDF. In a nutshell, that is what it is. I'm gonna quickly hop on to the presentation, into the software, and see if we're gonna quickly do this. So here I've already imported my 3D object, and I've also applied some textures to it. Now, what I'm gonna do a frame-by-frame animation on it. So on the left-hand side here, we've got the 3D object. It's a water pump. And then I am just gonna drill down there and expose some of the parts that I wanna do a frame-by-frame animation on. I'll begin with the outer screws there, and then I am going to animate them. So the animation is gonna be done here on the timeline. I'm just gonna open it up to about 30 frames out there. Then pull out these screws. And then once I'm done there, I can just give it some 10 more frames to ease it. And then now, because these screws, they are suspended in the air, I'm just gonna ground them, or just drop them to the ground, put them on the ground. You can even change their orientation slightly there to make it much more realistic, or how you would want it to appear. And that's it. We're done with the screws. Now, if I take the timeline back, it will show you the screws going back to where they were initially, and then back again. That's for the screws there. Then once I'm done with the screws, I want now to take out the outer cover. So I'm just going to take out the outer cover as well. Again, do another frame by frame animation. Pull out the cover. Maybe I'll put somewhere there. Ease it out. Then here, just ground it again. Then when I'm done with the outer cover, I'm gonna take out now the main bolt. Right, maybe put it there. That's the main bolt. Ease it out and then maybe drop it to the ground again. Once I'm done with the main bolt, take out the nut. Make sure the parent folder there is selected. Again, ease it out. Then put it to the ground. Then I'm going to take out the fan. I will put it there. And that's it. Now we're done with the frame by frame animation. If I take the timeline back to 0 there, all these parts are going to go back to where they were. Now, what we are going to do, we are going to create sequences here at the bottom. The sequences, basically, they are sort of mini recordings of whatever was happening on the animation timeline. So I'm going to begin with the outer screws and create the sequences for the outer screw here. So here are the time frames for the outer screws and their keyframes. I'm just going to highlight them and then create a sequence. Just making sure they are all highlighted there. Create a sequence there, and then I'm going to call this a screws. And then from the screws, I'm going to take out the outer cover. And also create another sequence. Just gonna name it cover. And then from the cover, I'm gonna take out the main bolt. Again, highlight those keyframes, create a sequence, and then I'm just gonna call it main bolt. It's very important to remember how you name here the sequences because you will need this information at a later stage. And then the nut. And then the fan. I hope I captured all those sequences. Just gonna check there. So we've got the screws. If I play here on the animation sequence, the screws, it will show the screws animating. Then the cover, it will show it, the main bolt, the nut, and then finally the fan. That's it. Then we come to the file menu, go to your 3D option there, and then you go to your settings. On the settings here, you've got quite a number of templates there. The one that I'm interested in is the one on steps, is the one that I'm gonna use, but you also have got other options here like your 3D, your viewing, your animation. Here under the animation tab, you need to disable play animation at start because if you leave it like that, it will then play the animation without the user controlling it, which is going to be very bad. Otherwise, the rest of the things, they are okay. And then you can double click here and open up that to check if everything is in accordance to what you want. So here I have already put in 5 steps. By default, it has got 4 steps. And then here, this particular graphic, you need to link it to your sequence, and that's the names become very important. So there is the screws, I've linked it, the cover, and so forth. So I'm just gonna close out on that and then save on that. Then we export this. Let's just call it Fox demo, and then we export it. It's gonna take a bit of some time. Maybe while it's exporting, I can be taking a few questions or comments.
Oh, Mr. Phezulu, please don't forget the time.
Yes, I'm done. I'm just waiting for this to finish. Okay. Okay, but basically, the final output would look something like this. So if you click on step 1, it's gonna then animate in accordance to, okay, here is the file, it's done generating it. Okay, for step 1, it's gonna animate and take out the screws. And then you can also change the orientation of this if you don't like how it's oriented. Then step 2 is taking out that. Step 3, step 4, step 5. So ultimately, that is how it's going to disassemble it. But the good part about it is that you are no longer relying on virtual reality to do this, but you can just do it on a 3D PDF offline. And that sums it all.
Can I please disturb you again? There's a last sessions where there are prize giveaways. So I would like you to end the session soon, if it's
Yes, I'm
possible.
done. Thank you very much,
I'm really
colleagues.
sorry. I'm sorry for disturbing you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the last session of the day, and I would like to thank you for taking time to attend the conference. Before we close this session, do you have any questions? Are there any questions?
No, it was a great session. Thank you. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please don't forget to join this. Please don't forget to join the closing session to stand a chance winning a prize. I would like to thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.